The arrival. It started like any other day on Earth. People were busy with their usual routines, some heading to work, others enjoying the morning sun. Children laughed as they played in parks, and the world seemed at peace. But then, everything changed. At exactly 10:13 a.m., the skies began to shift. The blue hues of the atmosphere darkened unnaturally, fading into a deep, ominous red. People stopped in their tracks, looking up in confusion. Birds scattered from the skies, as if they sensed something humanity couldn't. Moments later, a loud, vibrating hum echoed across the planet, powerful enough to rattle windows and send tremors through the ground. That's when they appeared. Massive alien ships, larger than any city on Earth, emerged from the clouds. Their metallic surfaces shimmered in the sunlight, casting enormous shadows over the ground below. The ships were shaped like inverted pyramids, their sharp edges glowing faintly with an eerie green light. Smaller ships poured out of the larger ones, spreading like a swarm of locusts, covering the skies of every major city. Panic erupted instantly. In New York City, cars screeched to a halt as people abandoned their vehicles to stare at the invasion above. In Tokyo, the usually calm streets filled with screams as people ran for cover. Across the globe, it was the same: confusion, fear, and chaos. The world had seen movies about alien invasions, but nobody expected to experience one for real. The alien ships made no immediate move to attack. They hovered silently, like predators watching their prey. Governments scrambled to respond, but nobody knew what to do. Military jets were scrambled into the skies, circling the alien ships cautiously. News channels broadcast live footage, reporters struggling to stay calm as they described the scene unfolding around them. In Washington, D.C., President Harris called for an emergency meeting with world leaders. The United Nations convened within hours, connecting through a secure video feed. Everyone was asking the same questions. Who are they? What do they want? Are we under attack? Despite the chaos, some hoped for peace. Maybe the aliens had come to make contact, to share knowledge or technology. But that hope didn't last long. 12 hours after their arrival, the aliens finally made their first move. A piercing signal was transmitted across every device on Earth: televisions, phones, radios, even smartwatches. The signal was a deafening mechanical screech that lasted for 30 seconds. Then a voice spoke. It was not human. The voice was cold and emotionless, speaking in perfect English, but with a robotic tone that sent chills down every listener's spine. "We are the Zereth Armada," the voice declared. "We come from the stars, and we demand your surrender." The message continued, explaining that the Zereth were here for Earth's core energy, a resource they claimed was vital for their survival. They gave humanity an ultimatum: surrender within 24 hours, or face complete destruction. The message ended abruptly, leaving the world in stunned silence. For a few moments, it was as if the entire planet had stopped breathing. The response from humanity was immediate. Fear turned into anger. People protested in the streets, refusing to bow to alien invaders. Social media exploded with hashtags like #FightBack and #SaveEarth. Yet, behind the scenes, world leaders were panicking. How could they fight an enemy so advanced? The Zereth ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They hovered effortlessly, immune to gravity, and their size alone was intimidating. Military generals advised immediate retaliation, but scientists warned against it. "We don't even know what their technology is capable of," Dr. Elena Carter, a leading astrophysicist, argued during a global broadcast. "Attacking them blindly could wipe us out." As the 24-hour countdown began, humanity was left with no clear plan. Families huddled together in their homes, watching the news with dread. Some prayed, others prepared for the worst. Underground bunkers filled up quickly, as those with access to them sought refuge. Cities became ghost towns as people fled to the countryside, hoping to escape the aliens' wrath. But even in the face of terror, there were those who refused to give up hope. In a hidden laboratory beneath the Nevada desert, a group of scientists and engineers worked tirelessly on a secret project. They believed they had discovered something buried deep within Earth's crust, something ancient and powerful that could turn the tide of the coming battle. But they needed time to confirm their theories. Meanwhile, the Zerith Armada remained eerily still. Their ships hovered in silence, their glowing edges pulsating faintly as if alive. It was as if they were waiting, observing humanity's every move. Their presence was a constant reminder that Earth's time was running out. As the first day of the invasion came to a close, the world was left with a terrifying realization. They were utterly outmatched. But even in their darkest hour, one thought united humanity: a determination to survive, no matter the cost. Because Earth had faced threats before, and humanity had always found a way to fight back. This time, however, the fight would be unlike anything the world had ever seen. The clock was ticking. The ultimatum. The 24-hour countdown had begun. Across the globe, cities fell eerily silent. Streets that were once bustling with life were now empty, save for the hum of alien ships hovering above. In their shadows, humanity held its breath. The Zerith Armada's ultimatum echoed in every mind: surrender or face total annihilation. But even in their silence, the aliens had already started their game of terror. As the second hour of the countdown passed, small alien drones descended from the larger ships. They moved through the streets with precision, scanning buildings, cars, and even the people who dared not hide fast enough. The drones emitted a faint green glow and gave off no sound, making them even more unsettling. No one knew their purpose. Were they gathering information? Or were they weapons waiting to be activated? Fear of the unknown gripped everyone who saw them. In a small apartment in London, James Rivers, a history teacher, stood frozen as one of the drones hovered outside his window. He had seen war documentaries, but nothing could prepare him for this. The drone paused, its glowing green eye staring directly at him. His breath caught. It didn't fire, didn't attack. It simply moved on, leaving James trembling with relief. He wasn't alone. Across the world, millions of others experienced the same thing. What was the Zerith Armada looking for? In the White House Situation Room, President Harris leaned forward, staring at the video feed of the drones moving through New York City. "They're studying us," she said quietly, breaking the tense silence. "But why? They already have the upper hand." General Parker, the head of the United States Defense Command, slammed his fist on the table. "We can't sit around waiting for them to make the first move. We need to strike now, while we still can, and risk provoking them into wiping us out before we're ready," argued Dr. Elena Carter, her voice sharp. She had become the unofficial spokesperson for humanity's scientific community since the invasion began. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. If we want to survive, we need to think smarter, not louder. The debate continued, but it was clear that humanity was divided. Some wanted to fight. Others believed surrender was the only option. But the Zerith weren't going to wait for a decision. As the 9th hour approached, the alien voice returned. This time, it wasn't just a broadcast. The Zerith leaders spoke directly to Earth, their voice booming from every hovering ship. "You waste precious time," the voice said coldly. "Your primitive weapons will not save you. Your resistance is meaningless. Surrender now, and your world will remain intact. Defy us, and your planet will burn. You have 15 hours left." The message was followed by an unnerving demonstration. In the blink of an eye, one of the smaller alien ships fired a green beam of energy at an uninhabited island in the Pacific. The result was devastating. The island didn't explode. It simply disappeared, as if it had never existed. Satellite images showed nothing but an empty stretch of ocean where land had once been. The message was clear. The Zerith weren't bluffing. Across the world, fear turned into desperation. News anchors struggled to keep their composure, reporting the destruction with trembling voices. Social media exploded with theories, rumors, and pleas for salvation. Some said the end was inevitable. Others clung to a sliver of hope, convinced that humanity's resilience would somehow prevail. In the Nevada desert, that hope was taking shape. Deep underground, Dr. Carter and her team worked tirelessly on activating what they believed to be Earth's hidden weapon. The project, codenamed Aurora, was based on ancient texts and fragments of technology found in the 1980s during a secret archaeological dig. According to the documents, Earth's ancestors had left behind a powerful energy source capable of defending the planet in times of extreme crisis, but no one had ever proven its existence until now. As the team worked, the walls of the underground lab shook slightly. The alien ships were scanning deep beneath the surface, their drones inching closer to discovering the lab's location. "We're running out of time," Dr. Carter whispered, her voice filled with urgency. "We need to get this online before they find us." Meanwhile, not far from the lab, a group of soldiers was preparing for a covert mission. Their objective: capture one of the alien drones intact. Military leaders believed that reverse engineering the drone could give them a clue about the Zerith's weaknesses. The operation was risky, but it was the only way to gather intel before the final hours of the countdown. By the 12th hour, humanity's desperation had turned into a mix of quiet defiance and frantic preparation. In underground bunkers, families whispered prayers. On military bases, soldiers trained for a battle they knew they might not survive. In secret labs, scientists worked around the clock, their hands trembling but determined. And above it all, the Zerith Armada watched. The alien leader spoke one final time as the 14th hour approached. "Your defiance is admirable but foolish. You cannot comprehend the power we possess. Surrender now, and your suffering will end. You have 10 hours left." As the countdown continued, humanity faced an impossible choice. Would they bow to the Zerith and give up their freedom, or would they fight with everything they had, even if it meant total destruction? The clock ticked on, and the answer was anything but clear. But one thing was certain: the next few hours would decide the fate of the world. Humanity's decision. The clock was ticking. The Zerith Armada's ultimatum loomed heavy over humanity, and the tension was unbearable. Across the world, leaders, scientists, and ordinary citizens wrestled with a single impossible question: should we surrender or fight? At the United Nations Emergency Summit, arguments echoed through the chamber. Every leader had a different opinion, but none of them had a solution. "If we surrender, we lose our planet, our freedom, everything," shouted Prime Minister Patil of India, slamming her fist on the table. "And if we fight, we risk extinction," countered President Lopes of Mexico. "We have no guarantee of victory. Our weapons are nothing compared to theirs." Amidst the shouting, General Parker, representing the United States, stood up. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. "We may not have their technology, but we have something they don't. We have determination, and we have ingenuity. Humanity has faced impossible odds before. We fought wars, survived plagues, and endured natural disasters. This is no different." The room fell silent, his words hanging in the air. But even as he spoke, everyone knew the truth. Humanity had never faced an enemy like the Zerith. The alien armada wasn't just a superior force, it was a force beyond comprehension. In a hidden bunker beneath the Nevada desert, Dr. Elena Carter and her team were no longer debating. They were working. Aurora, the ancient weapon they had uncovered, was more than a legend. It was their only hope. According to their calculations, the device could generate a planetary energy shield strong enough to repel even the Zerith's most powerful attacks. But there was a problem. "The energy required to activate this weapon is more than we can produce," said Dr. Carter, pacing in front of the team. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed her anxiety. "We'd need to tap directly into the Earth's core to make it work. If we're off by even a fraction of a degree, the result could be catastrophic. We're talking global earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, worse than the Zerith themselves." Her team exchanged uneasy glances. The stakes were terrifying, but they had no other choice. Dr. Carter stopped pacing and looked directly at her team. "I need you to trust me. If we don't take this risk, we lose everything. Are you with me?" One by one, the team members nodded. Fear lingered in their eyes, but so did determination. They got to work, racing against time to prepare Aurora for activation. Meanwhile, far from the secret lab, a covert mission was underway. Captain Darius Cole, a decorated Special Forces officer, led a team of 6 soldiers deep into alien-controlled territory. Their objective: capture one of the Zereth drones intact. Military intelligence believed the drones might hold the key to understanding the aliens' technology, and possibly their weaknesses. The mission was dangerous, bordering on suicidal. The drones were everywhere, scanning every inch of the cities they hovered over. But Captain Cole's team was the best of the best, trained for impossible scenarios. As they moved silently through the ruins of downtown Chicago, the eerie green glow of a Zereth drone appeared in the distance. The team froze, pressing themselves against the charred remains of a building. The drone hovered closer, its single green eye scanning the area. "Wait for it," Cole whispered, his voice barely audible through the team's comms. His hand tightened around the EMP grenade in his grasp. The drone stopped, its glowing eye locking onto their position. "Now," Cole shouted. The EMP grenade exploded in a flash of blue light, sending out a pulse that temporarily disabled the drone. The team sprang into action, securing the alien machine before it could reactivate. But their success came at a cost. The pulse had alerted the Zereth ships above. Alarms echoed through the sky as smaller alien crafts descended rapidly toward their location. "We've got company," shouted one of the soldiers. Cole barked orders, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Get the drone to extraction. I'll hold them off." "No way, Captain," one of his men protested. "We're not leaving you behind." "That's an order," Cole snapped, raising his rifle as the first alien craft fired a pulse of energy. The explosion lit up the sky, but Cole didn't flinch. He fired back, giving his team the cover they needed to escape with the drone. By the time the extraction helicopter arrived, Captain Cole's fate was unknown. Back in the bunker, the clock ticked closer to the Zereth's deadline. Dr. Carter's team had made significant progress, but time was running out. Just as she was about to give up hope, the captured drone arrived, carried by Cole's surviving team members. "We lost good men for this," one of the soldiers said grimly as he placed the drone on the lab table. Dr. Carter's team wasted no time. They dismantled the drone, working tirelessly to decode its inner workings. What they found was both shocking and hopeful. The Zereth's technology, while advanced, wasn't flawless. The drone's systems showed signs of a vulnerability, a frequency that could disrupt their energy shields. "This might be it," Dr. Carter whispered, her hands trembling as she analyzed the data. "We can use this to enhance Aurora. It might actually work." The team quickly integrated the findings into their plans, but the pressure was unbearable. The Zereth's countdown had reached its final 6 hours. The alien ships, which had been eerily still, began to reposition themselves. The Armada was preparing for their final assault. Humanity had made its decision. Surrender was no longer an option. Every nation on Earth united under a single cause: to fight back, no matter the cost. Soldiers prepared for battle. Civilians braced themselves for the worst. And in the Nevada bunker, Aurora hummed to life, its ancient mechanisms glowing with raw, untapped power. As the countdown entered its final hour, the world held its breath. Earth's response was coming, and it would be unthinkable. The first battle. The Zereth Armada didn't wait for the countdown to hit 0. 6 hours before their deadline, they'd made their move. Across the globe, their ships descended from the skies like predatory shadows, their glowing edges intensifying as they prepared to unleash devastation. Humanity, united and defiant, was ready, but no one truly knew if they stood a chance. The first attack struck London. Without warning, A colossal Zereth warship unleashed a beam of green energy that sliced through the air, leveling entire city blocks in seconds. Skyscrapers crumbled like sandcastles, and the once vibrant city became a battlefield. Earth's defense systems responded immediately. Fighter jets roared through the sky, firing missiles at the alien ships, but the Zereth shields absorbed the attacks effortlessly, barely flickering. In the Nevada bunker, Dr. Elena Carter and her team watched the live feeds in horror. Aurora was nearly ready, but it wasn't operational yet. Every second of delay cost lives. "We need more time," one of her engineers shouted, his voice cracking under the weight of the situation. "We don't have time," Dr. Carter replied, her voice firm despite the chaos. "Get me a connection to the Global Defense Network. If they can hold the Zereth off for even a few more hours, we might just pull this off." Meanwhile, in London, Lieutenant Emma Hayes of the Royal Air Force led her squadron in a desperate counterattack. Flying through the smoke-filled skies, she dodged pulse blasts from the smaller Zereth fighters, her jets' warning systems blaring in her ears. "Stay in formation," she shouted over the comms. "We can't take them head-on. Focus fire on their engines. Those are their weak points." The squadron followed her lead, targeting the glowing thrusters on the alien crafts. To everyone's shock, one of the Zereth fighters exploded in a brilliant green flash, spiraling into the Thames below. "They can bleed," one of her pilots yelled triumphantly. But the victory was short-lived. More Zereth ships descended, overwhelming the squadron. Emma's jet took a direct hit, forcing her to eject. As her parachute deployed, she watched helplessly as the alien forces tightened their grip on the city. Across the world, similar battles rage. In Tokyo, advanced robotics were deployed to fight alongside soldiers, but even these state-of-the-art machines struggled against the Zereth's superior firepower. In Cairo, military drones swarmed the alien ships, briefly disrupting their shields before being obliterated. And in New York, civilians armed themselves, fighting alongside the National Guard in a desperate attempt to protect their city. The Zereth were relentless. Their ships moved with precision, targeting power plants, communication hubs, and military bases. It became clear that they weren't just attacking. They were systematically dismantling humanity's ability to resist. But Earth wasn't giving up. In the Nevada bunker, a breakthrough occurred. The captured Zereth drone had provided a vital piece of information. The alien shields operated on a specific energy frequency. If humanity could disrupt that frequency, even for a moment, it would leave the Zereth ships vulnerable. Dr. Carter and her team worked frantically to integrate this discovery into Aurora. The weapon, originally designed as a planetary energy shield, was modified to emit a powerful pulse that could disable the Zereth shields globally. "Will it work?" one of the engineers asked nervously. Dr. Carter hesitated. "I don't know, but we're about to find out." With only 3 hours left before the Zereth's ultimatum expired, Aurora was activated for the first time. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, the ancient mechanisms roared to life, drawing immense energy from the planet's core. The ground trembled, and across the bunker, lights flickered as the weapon powered up. "Pulse generator is online," one of the technicians reported. "We're ready to fire." Dr. Carter took a deep breath. "Do it." The command was given, and a massive surge of energy erupted from Aurora. The pulse spread across the planet in a wave of blinding light, visible even from space. For a moment, everything went silent. Above the battlefield, the effects were immediate. Zereth ships faltered mid-air, their glowing shields flickering and then collapsing entirely. The once invincible armada was now exposed. Humanity seized the moment. In London, Lieutenant Hayes, who had been rescued by ground forces, grabbed a radio and shouted, "Their shields are down. Hit them with everything you've got." Fighter jets, tanks, and missile launchers unleashed a coordinated assault on the vulnerable alien ships. Explosions lit up the sky as the Zereth vessels, now defenseless, began to fall. One by one, the massive warships crashed to the ground, their green lights fading. In New York, Civilians cheered as their improvised attacks brought down a Zereth fighter. In Tokyo, robotic units swarmed a disabled warship, tearing it apart piece by piece. And in Cairo, soldiers launched a final devastating strike that destroyed the alien command ship hovering over the pyramids. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had hope. But the battle wasn't over. As the remaining Zereth ships retreated into the upper atmosphere, a chilling realization swept over the leaders watching from command centers around the world. The Zereth weren't running. They were regrouping. In the Nevada bunker, Dr. Carter's relief was short-lived. Sensors detected a massive buildup of energy aboard the largest Zereth ship, which had remained untouched throughout the battle. It was clear what was coming. "They're preparing a counterstrike," she said grimly. "If they fire that weapon, it could wipe us out entirely." The first battle was won, but the war was far from over. Humanity had proven it could fight back, but the Zereth weren't going to give up so easily. The countdown had restarted. This time, it was Earth's move, the hidden weapon. The Zereth Armada was wounded but not defeated. Their retreat into the upper atmosphere wasn't a sign of surrender. It was a sign of preparation. On board the Zereth mothership, an enormous vessel unlike anything humanity had ever imagined, their leader observed Earth with cold, unfeeling eyes. The humans had resisted, and that was unexpected. But resistance, in the eyes of the Zereth, was nothing more than a nuisance to be eradicated. As Earth celebrated small victories, the largest Zereth warship began to charge its superweapon, a planetary disintegrator capable of vaporizing Earth's surface in a single devastating attack. Humanity's fight had only just begun. In the Nevada bunker, the tension was suffocating. Dr. Elena Carter's team monitored the energy surge coming from the Zereth mothership. The numbers were incomprehensible. If the weapon fired, there would be no survivors. "We need to hit them now," General Parker barked, before they finished charging that weapon. "With what?" Dr. Carter shot back, exasperated. "The pulse from Aurora disabled their shields, but it's not a weapon. And if we fire another pulse, we risk destabilizing the planet's core entirely. We could wipe ourselves out before they even have the chance." The room fell silent. Every head turned toward a holographic display of the Zereth mothership, its edges glowing brighter with each passing second. Time was running out, and Earth had nothing strong enough to destroy it. Or so they thought. Far beneath the bunker, in a sealed cavern that hadn't been entered for centuries, lay the key to Earth's survival. Buried within the Earth's crust was the Sentinel, an ancient, mysterious weapon left behind by a forgotten civilization. Humanity had always considered it a myth, a story passed down in fragments of ancient texts. But Dr. Carter had known better. She had spent her entire career searching for it. And now, in the planet's darkest hour, it was their only hope. "We found the Sentinel years ago during the Aurora project," she explained to the stunned room. "We didn't know what it was, let alone how to activate it. But if my calculations are correct, it's powerful enough to destroy the Zereth mothership." "How do we activate it?" General Parker asked, his tone a mix of hope and urgency. Dr. Carter hesitated. "The Sentinel isn't powered by conventional energy. It requires something more, something we haven't seen in millennia." The answer lay in an unlikely place, an archaeological dig site in Antarctica. Decades earlier, a team of scientists had uncovered strange crystals embedded deep in the ice. The crystals emitted a faint, pulsing glow and defied every known law of physics. They were dismissed as anomalies, catalogued and forgotten. But now, Dr. Carter knew the truth. The crystals were keys, the missing component needed to activate the Sentinel. Time was short. A team was assembled immediately, consisting of scientists, engineers, and soldiers. They boarded a modified transport plane and raced to Antarctica, navigating treacherous storms and uncharted terrain to reach the dig site. When they arrived, the site was unrecognizable. The Zereth had already been there. Alien drones swarmed the area, scanning for the crystals. The team had no choice but to split up, one group to retrieve the crystals, the other to hold off the drones. Captain Darius Cole, thought to have been lost during the drone capture mission, was alive and leading the charge. He and his soldiers engaged the drones in a brutal firefight, using advanced EMP rounds and experimental tech to disable them. The battle was fierce, and casualties were high, but they bought enough time for the scientists to locate the crystals. Dr. Carter's voice crackled over the comms. "We've got them. Get back to the plane." With the crystals in hand, the team made a desperate escape. The alien drones pursued them relentlessly, but Captain Cole stayed behind, covering their retreat. As the plane lifted off, the remaining soldiers watched in silence, saluting their fallen leader. Back at the Nevada bunker, the crystals were installed into the Sentinel. The weapon, dormant for thousands of years, began to hum with life. Its intricate carvings glowed with golden light, and a low, resonating pulse filled the air. "The Sentinel is ready," Dr. Carter announced, her voice heavy with both hope and fear. But there was a catch. The Sentinel couldn't be remotely activated. It required a manual trigger, a human operator to stay behind and ensure the weapon fired correctly. It was a one-way mission, and everyone in the room knew it. "I'll do it," Dr. Carter said quietly, stepping forward. General Parker shook his head. "No, you're the only one who understands this thing. We need you alive." Before anyone could respond, a voice from the back of the room cut through the tension. "I'll do it," Captain Darius Cole said, stepping into the room, battered but alive. His survival in Antarctica had been a miracle, but his resolve was unshaken. "You all have a planet to save. Let me finish the fight." Dr. Carter hesitated, but she saw the determination in Cole's eyes. With a heavy heart, she nodded. As the Zerith mothership prepared to fire its weapon, Captain Cole descended into the Sentinel's control chamber. The ancient mechanisms came to life around him, their golden light intensifying as the weapon charged. He spoke into his comms one last time. "Tell them we fought. Tell them we didn't give up." With those final words, the Sentinel unleashed its power. A beam of pure energy shot upward, piercing the atmosphere and striking the Zerith mothership. The alien vessel, once thought invincible, began to collapse from within, its glowing edges fracturing and erupting in blinding explosions. The Zerith leader's final words echoed across their communication channels. How could they? On Earth, cheers erupted as the mothership disintegrated in the sky, its remains burning up in the atmosphere. The alien fleet, leaderless and scattered, retreated into the void. Humanity had won, but the cost was great. Captain Cole's sacrifice became a symbol of Earth's resilience, a reminder that even in the face of impossible odds, humanity's spirit would not be broken. As the dust settled, Dr. Carter looked to the sky, knowing this was only the beginning. The Zerith weren't the only threat in the galaxy, but for now, Earth had earned its place among the stars. Humanity's bold move. The Zerith Armada was shattered, their mothership obliterated by the Sentinel's devastating strike. Across the planet, cheers erupted in bunkers, cities, and homes as humanity celebrated its first-ever victory against an alien invader. But amidst the euphoria, a sobering truth began to settle in. The Zerith had not been entirely defeated. Their surviving ships still lingered in Earth's orbit, and the destruction of their mothership would only delay their plans. Humanity had won a battle, but the war wasn't over. In the Nevada bunker, Dr. Elena Carter stood in front of the glowing remnants of the Sentinel, her heart heavy. Captain Cole's sacrifice had given humanity a fighting chance, but the weapon, now spent, would take decades to recharge. Earth's most powerful tool was now offline, and the remaining Zerith forces would surely regroup. They didn't have decades. They didn't even have days. General Parker, his uniform scorched from earlier battles, slammed his fist on the command table. "We can't wait for them to come back. We need to take the fight to them." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at him as if he'd lost his mind. "Take the fight to them," Dr. Carter asked, incredulous. "Do you even realize what that means? We barely survived their invasion. How do you propose we attack an enemy that controls the stars?" General Parker's eyes burned with determination. "Because waiting here to die isn't an option. They'll come back, and next time, they'll bring more ships, more weapons. If we don't hit them while they're weak, we're finished." The idea seemed impossible at first, but Parker wasn't entirely wrong. The captured Zereth drone, still being studied in the bunker's lab, had revealed another critical piece of information: a map. It detailed the Zereth fleet's staging grounds, a massive orbital station located just outside Earth's solar system. The station was their supply hub, where reinforcements and weapons were being prepared for a second wave of the invasion. If humanity could destroy that station, they could cripple the Zereth's ability to return. It was a suicide mission, but it was their only chance to strike first and ensure Earth's survival. Dr. Carter stared at the holographic map, her mind racing. The station is massive. It's protected by fleets of ships and automated defenses. Even if we could get there, how would we destroy it? "Simple," Parker said with a grim smile. "We take a bomb." The plan was ambitious, reckless, and terrifying. Humanity's remaining fleet of spacecraft, outdated shuttles, and hastily retrofitted cargo ships would be used to transport a prototype fusion bomb, the most powerful weapon ever created by Earth's scientists. The bomb, built using the same crystal energy that powered the Sentinel, had enough power to destroy the station and everything around it. But the mission required a crew, and the odds of their survival were slim to none. Volunteers came forward from every corner of the planet. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, men and women willing to risk everything to save humanity. Among them was Lieutenant Emma Hayes, who had survived the Zereth attack on London and had become a symbol of resilience. Her piloting skills and calm under pressure made her the natural choice to lead the mission. As the crew prepared, humanity rallied behind them. Across the globe, people worked tirelessly to retrofit the ships, stockpile supplies, and provide everything the team would need for the journey. It was a rare moment of global unity. Every nation, every culture, united by a shared purpose. The launch day arrived. 3 ships, their hulls reinforced with scavenged alien materials, stood ready on a desert launch pad. The fusion bomb, carefully housed in one of the vessels, glowed faintly, its power barely contained. Lieutenant Hayes and her crew boarded their ships, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. As the countdown began, Dr. Carter approached Hayes in the command module. She handed her a small weathered notebook. "What's this?" Hayes asked. "My father's journal," Carter said softly. "He was a pilot, just like you. He always said the most important thing wasn't the mission, it was coming back." Hayes smiled, slipping the notebook into her flight suit. "I'll do my best." The engines roared to life, and the ships blasted into the sky, piercing the atmosphere and heading into the void of space. On the ground, billions of people watched, holding their breath as Earth's first offensive mission in history began. The journey to the Zereth station was perilous. The crew navigated through asteroid fields, evaded rogue Zereth patrols, and dealt with the constant threat of their ships malfunctioning. The alien technology used to retrofit their vessels was powerful but unstable, and every hour brought new challenges. Finally, they arrived. The Zereth station was a colossal structure, its size dwarfing anything built by human hands. It glowed with an eerie green light, its surface bristling with weapons and docks filled with ships. The crew stared in awe and terror. "That's a whole city," one of the engineers whispered. "No," Hayes replied. "It's a whole world." The station's defenses activated immediately. Swarms of alien fighters poured out, their engines blazing as they moved to intercept the human ships. Hayes and her team split up, engaging the fighters in a desperate dogfight. The human ships were slower, less maneuverable, but the pilot's ingenuity and determination leveled the playing field. While the battle raged, the bomb-carrying vessel made its approach. Guided by automated systems, it weaved through the chaos, heading straight for the station's central reactor. Hayes provided cover, taking down fighters and drawing enemy fire away from the bomb. "We're almost there," the bomb pilot shouted over the comms. But the Zereth weren't done. A massive warship emerged from the station's dock, its weapons locking onto the bomb-carrying vessel. Hayes made a split-second decision. "Cover me," she ordered, diving her ship directly into the warship's path. She fired every weapon she had, drawing its attention and creating an opening for the bomb to reach its target. "Detonation in 10 seconds, the bomb pilot announced. Hayes watched as the vessel disappeared into the station's core. A brilliant flash of light followed, and the Zereth station erupted in a massive explosion that consumed everything in its radius. The shockwave rocked her ship, sending it spinning into the void. Back on Earth, the night sky lit up with the distant explosion, visible even from the ground. Cheers erupted as people realized what had happened. The Zereth station was destroyed. Humanity had struck a blow so decisive that the invaders would think twice before returning. Hayes, barely conscious, drifted in her damaged ship, unsure if she would make it home. But she clutched Dr. Carter's notebook tightly, reminding herself of one thing: coming back matters. The war wasn't over, but humanity had proven one thing: it would never bow. The galaxy had underestimated Earth, and that was their greatest mistake. The unthinkable ending. The Zereth station was gone. The explosion had been visible from Earth, a beacon of humanity's defiance, its courage, and its willingness to fight against impossible odds. Across the planet, people celebrated the victory with cheers, tears, and hope. But the ones who truly understood the stakes knew that this victory wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. In the Nevada bunker, Dr. Elena Carter paced back and forth, staring at the incoming data from Earth's satellites. The destruction of the Zereth station had sent shockwaves across the solar system. Debris from the station now formed a glowing ring around Jupiter, a grim monument to the battle. But what worried her was the silence. The Zereth fleet, what remained of it, had gone dark. No ships, no transmissions, no retaliation, nothing. It was as if the invaders had simply vanished. "This isn't right," Carter muttered, her eyes darting over the holographic display. "They wouldn't just leave." General Parker, standing nearby, crossed his arms. "Maybe we hit them so hard they decided we're not worth the trouble." Carter shook her head. "The Zereth don't retreat. That much we've learned. If they're silent, it means they're planning something. Something big." Parker sighed. "We'll be ready for them." But deep down, even he wasn't sure. Far above Earth, Lieutenant Emma Hayes drifted in her damaged ship, the wreckage of the Zereth station still glowing faintly in the distance. Her vessel's systems were failing, the oxygen levels dropping rapidly. She clung to Dr. Carter's notebook, its pages now stained with soot and blood, a reminder of her promise to return home. As her ship floated in the void, a faint signal crackled through the comms. "This is Earth Command. Lieutenant Hayes. Do you copy?" Her voice, weak but resolute, answered, "I copy. Mission accomplished." Cheers erupted across the command center back on Earth as her signal came through. But the celebration was short-lived. Another signal, faint but distinct, cut through the static. It wasn't human. The voice was cold, mechanical, and filled with venom. It spoke in Zerethian, but Earth's computers translated it quickly. "You think you've won," it said. "You have only delayed your inevitable destruction." The message continued, broadcasting across all frequencies. "The Zereth are not the greatest power in this galaxy. We fled here, not to conquer, but to escape. Now your defiance has drawn their attention, and you will suffer." The message ended abruptly, leaving Earth's leaders stunned. The room fell silent as the weight of the words sank in. What did they mean by drawn their attention? One of the analysts asked, his voice trembling. Dr. Carter's face paled. She pieced it together in an instant. The Zereth weren't just invaders. They were refugees, fleeing from something worse. General Parker slammed his fist on the table. What could be worse than them? Carter turned to the holographic display, zooming out to reveal the galaxy beyond Earth. I don't know, she said quietly. But if the Zereth were running, it means whatever's coming is unstoppable. The celebrations on Earth faded into unease. The realization that the Zereth weren't the true threat changed everything. Scientists worked around the clock, analyzing the remnants of the Zereth technology to prepare for what might come next. Military leaders drafted plans for planetary defenses, though everyone knew it might not be enough. And then the sky changed. It started as a faint ripple, a distortion in the stars that grew larger with each passing hour. Astronomers were the first to notice, their telescopes capturing an anomaly that defied explanation. It was as if space itself was folding, bending under the weight of something enormous. By the time the distortion became visible to the naked eye, it was too late. A massive object emerged from the rift, larger than the Zereth mothership, larger than Earth's moon. It was a structure, not a ship, with a surface that shimmered like liquid metal. It pulsed with a dark, crimson light, its very presence radiating dread. On board the object, a voice echoed, not through comms, but directly into the minds of every human on Earth. It was deep, resonant, and filled with an ancient malice. We are the viral collective, it said. We come to cleanse what is weak. Panic erupted across the globe. The viral's message was clear. They were the ones the Zereth had been fleeing. And now, they had arrived. In the Nevada bunker, Dr. Carter and General Parker scrambled to coordinate a response. The Sentinel was offline, the fusion bomb had been used, and Earth's forces were depleted. We don't have anything that can stop them, Parker admitted, his voice cracking for the first time. Carter stared at the monitors, her mind racing. There has to be something. Something we're missing. And then she remembered. The Zereth map. It hadn't just shown their station. It had also included coordinates for something far beyond the solar system. A location labeled only as origin. What if the Zereth weren't just running from the viral? Carter said, her voice filled with sudden realization. What if they were running toward something? Something that could help us. Parker frowned. You're suggesting we go deeper into space. With what ships? What weapons? Carter met his gaze, determination hardening her features. We don't have a choice. If we stay here, we die. If we go, we might find something that can save us. As the viral ship loomed closer, humanity prepared for its greatest gamble yet. The remaining ships, battered but functional, were outfitted for a long journey into the unknown. Volunteers once again stepped forward, knowing they might never return. Among them was Lieutenant Hayes, rescued from the void and barely alive. Her body was weak, but her spirit was unbroken. If there's even a chance we can fight back, she said, then I'm going. The fleet launched just as the viral began their assault on Earth. The skies burned red as humanity's last hope disappeared into the stars, heading toward origin. The story ended not with triumph, but with uncertainty. Earth was under siege, its survival hanging by a thread. But for the first time, humanity was looking beyond its home, venturing into the vast, dangerous galaxy in search of salvation. Because now, they understood the truth. The galaxy was not theirs to claim. It was theirs to survive.